Ah, yes, we're finally seeing hand shuffling being banned in Yu-Gi-Oh! Make sure you guys smash the link crap out of that subscribe button so you guys don't miss out on more awesome content. So this is a pretty interesting topic of conversation here. Don't worry, there's a translated part to this that I'll talk about. So excessive hand shuffling may result in a penalty? Question mark? Exclamation point. Okay, so let's talk about these updates that came out of the documents today for Konami Japan. Excessive hand shuffling may result in a penalty. The Konami's official X account released an update regarding the tournament regulations and penalty regulations for official shop tournaments today. Below are the updated items. Added conditions regarding counters under items required for effect resolution. Added penalties for cases where the deck has not been restored to its initial state. Updated applicable penalties and updated the wording and expressions used in the regulations. It is worth noting that number 6, the prohibited actions during the duel, states the following. After translation, it means repeatedly performing unnecessary actions that do not contribute to the progression of the duel, such as excessive hand shuffling of the hand. That one's very, very interesting. Now, shuffling cards in the hand is a habit that many players, whenever they are not performing any actions during the game, players often unconsciously begin repeatedly shuffling their hands. Players have different opinions regarding this habit, and with some accepting it while others dislike it. Recently, this habit has also received attention in various other card games. See, case in point, over in, Bandai, where they also ban this. Some other card games have become stricter approach than handling, this behavior. Konami has shown a certain level of attention towards this habit. In addition, many common habits of players that display during the games are actually considered prohibited actions during tournament regulations. So, some examples of this. Switching the positions of the graveyard in the main deck. You've all seen in the TCG where players like to swap those around. That's completely incorrect. Placing the deck at a noticeably tilted angle, which is interesting, and then changing the order of cards in the graveyard. Therefore, when participating in official tournaments, players should make every effort to follow the official regulations. So you can get in trouble now for, if you're in Japan, obviously, for having your deck at an angle, because we've all seen that players will play with their deck instead of being like this, they'll have it like at the angle to make it easier to draw. The rearranging of things in the graveyard, which, question has always been a topic of conversation with the graveyard rearrangement, so that's pretty interesting that that's coming up now. But these are all just general housekeeping things, but I think the hand shuffling thing being more addressed is pretty interesting. Now, there's a couple of other interesting things here. Regarding the counter, so prepare the required number of items, such as coins or marbles, that are the size of which that will not interfere with checking card information or the progression of the game when placed on cards such as markers. The use of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Neuron function for handling counters is also permitted. Let's see here. The mention here refers to the traditional Japanese flat glass pieces used as markers. This does not refer to round glass marbles in this context. It means small objects that can be used as counters. So this is pretty easy. Don't bring marbles for spell counters because they're just going to roll around. I think they're also kind of trying to get this update out here for the use of spell counters now, because, we're going back to an era where Konami wants to push spell counters across the table. They want you to, cool little cards that can play spell counters, They want that to be maintained, and I think that's interesting. Penalties for not restoring the deck to its initial state. So before the start of the duel of each round, the deck, extra deck, and side deck have not been restored to their registered or initial states. Penalty warning: restore the deck to a legal state. Before the start of the duel of each round, the duel was started while the deck, extra deck, and side deck was not restored to the original or initial states. Penalty: loss of the duel, and then restore the deck to the legal state. And then, of course, we got some links to all of this. So, first of all, the The fact that Konami JP is getting, I mean, we've seen it on stream, right? Where they'll be stricter with like the graveyard placement. Japan has a very, very, very strict way of looking at the game and making sure that zones are properly maintained. I mean, I've seen them go as far as to even be mad at left-handed people having their deck on the left side, trying to use that because, you know, it actually kind of undermines the way that the game is meant to be played. Meanwhile, you'll see NA be in, you know, Europe on the streams be a little bit more accommodating for this sort of thing. That's nothing crazy. I mean, that's just like an ease of use sort of thing and more of a convenience thing based on, left hand versus right hand. But the deck being tilted, I don't really have much of a thought about that. That's just nitpicking. And then the changing of the order of the graveyard, I mean, that should be pretty logical because, once again, question does in fact exist. Like, and we've seen it with drop-off too, where players will draw cards and then shuffle their hand. And then the opponent's like, I'm trying to respond to your draw here. And then you shuffled your hand to randomize it. Now we cannot tell which card you just drew. So now, you're going to get a game loss for changed information. I mean, it's not fair, but it's also on you for, taking an unnecessary action to be able to do the thing. Now, the big thing here is the excessive hand shuffling penalty. We all know that, and I'm guilty of this too. Like, I shuffle my hand, usually like the end of my turn, and then I put it down after I've done everything I needed to do. Or, you just kind of fidget through it's a nervous habit that has been developed. Specifically, I want to say by Yu-Gi-Oh players. I could be wrong. I don't really see Pokemon players, fidget shuffling their hands with the absolute craziness, but you can tell it was something that feels like it originally originated here in Yu-Gi-Oh! And it's kind of tilted out into all of the other TCGs throughout the years. All right. It is a nervous habit that has been developed for them. Okay. Well, first of all, if you are using it and your opponent tells you, can you stop that? And you're not respecting that. Well, that's an entirely other issue of just you not liking boundaries or just being asked not to be an actual asshole to your opponent. Like, it's a pretty easy thing just to not be disrespectful. But if it's just something that you casually do it, and then, if your opponent actually chimes up, I've actually never had an opponent, complain about hand shuffling. And it once again, their use of wording here is excessive. If you do it like to, shuffle your hand, put it down for your opponent to resolve a card effect, then I mean, sure, that's within the game rules. You're allowed to randomize things before an effect results. But once again, it's excessive. This is the 10,000 mile per hour bros that are, spinning through their cards, going, I can't even do it because I don't even have, hold on here. Let's get 4 cards here. The ones that are like, oh, okay, it's your turn. And then, you're sitting here like, okay, draw standby phase. And then you're like, oh, and then your opponent's looking at you like, do you have a response? No response. And then you continue to do this through your entire opponent's turn while, they're trying to sit here and combo. I get it, all right? This can be excessively annoying, especially when your opponent's, trying to do the thing. Like, if you're going to do anything, I do like doing this. This is quieter. This does not really annoy the opponent at all. It's just, you need your hands to be busy. I mean, I get it, but it's excessive. So good job to Konami telling people, hey, don't be dicks. Do not, besides, the Asian culture is a lot more respectful than this side of the game. And it's so sad to just outright say that. But like, NA players, especially, they will sit here, they'll be like, that's not my problem. Like, call a judge, do it. It's, be respectful. If you want to have a good turn where it's nice and peaceful, don't be a jerk to your opponent on their turn. It's just sort of things like this. But I do like that Yu-Gi-Oh! Is stepping up here and finally putting, their foot down on this. Because honestly, this is kind of a long time coming. Every other card game has started kind of coming down on this. So the fact that, you're starting to see this in Yu-Gi-Oh! I think is a good step in the right direction. So please, Leave a comment down below. Tell me what you guys think. Are you finally happy to see hand shuffling be limited on the ban list? Yeah, I know. Terrible puns aside. You guys have a good rest of your day. Stay safe out there. And don't hand shuffle your hands dry, alright? Patrons! Thank you! Ah!
Thank you so much for watching. Check out these other videos.